Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so it's a lot of talk around the Lakers about Austin Reaves. He may be up for an extension very soon. I think he's expected to expire. His contract is next year, I believe it is. And he really signed a very favorable contract for our team on the last negotiations. And it's expected he may want to go a different route since he did take such a pay cut. My question is that the case, or is he going to continue to see the fruit and being on very team-friendly, high perk contracts, so to speak, with different things on the contract that pop in a very positive way for himself to make up for the dollar difference? That's my curiosity. Is he going to continue to negotiate the same way, or is he going to look to cash out at some point? It's been said that he had a pretty bad injury on his toe. That was a contributing factor to how he was not able to perform well in the playoffs against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Much was said about that after the fact, not really while he was playing. But nevertheless, we come to understand that toe injury was pretty bad. In fact, it's been said that this toe injury was the exact same one that's keeping Darius Garland out of the series that he's in right now, for which he's actually expected to return tonight as I'm recording this. But nevertheless, Austin Reaves, I guess, is going to have an asterisk next to his performance in a positive light to say that he's going to be all right if he plays on a different contract. You know, you can give him the type of contract that wouldn't dock him for being a poor playoff performer based on that injury and his willingness to play through it. So I think that's what a lot of people are thinking right now, that he's going to be considered for his regular season performance and assumed to have had a much better performance in the playoffs if the injury wasn't in place. You know, I think just like anybody else, man, what's the contract terms will be the question I ask to determine whether or not I support the re-signing. I obviously want to keep him, but everybody is capable of signing a bad contract. Everybody's capable of being somebody where it's not fruitful for the team to sign them anymore. There's not a soul in this league that I don't feel could be on a contract that's ridiculous for their standards, whatever those standards are. And so that's what you have to ask. Is Austin going to continue to negotiate favorable contracts? And if so, he's definitely an asset to keep. If he's going to try to negotiate a contract that keeps him dollar heavy, it may not be as fruitful for the Lakers. So it's said that he may be able to get as much as $40 million a year. Now, we can't do that. Based on our needs and our circumstances, there's no way we can do that. It's not going to be something that the Lakers will be willing to do, in my opinion, not at all. But if he's willing to take like 20, 25, I think we can start conversations there. But once you start getting above that, it can start to be a little bit of a problem for this organization. And, you know, I don't know that I would pay him that much. I don't think I would pay him no $40 million, no. But I am a believer in Austin's abilities on the offensive end. But just like all players that are not two-way, you got to have players that complement them. And if your inability to get those players is in place, then you are not going to be able to get the most out of those players. And most importantly, you're probably going to be exploiting their weaknesses. And that can make anybody not worth it to you. So I don't think he was the greatest piece next to Luka and LeBron, just simply because he does a lot of what it is they do. I think that you love the ceiling of the guard play, but you hated the floor of the defense. And it didn't particularly mesh very well. Maybe that could be because there was not a whole lot of time for them to get it together. You know, given the fact this team didn't have a training camp or nothing, given the fact that the Luka trade was made halfway through the season, one could say that the Los Angeles Lakers probably would benefit from having played in these playoffs with one another and then going into the offseason, being able to work on the training camp and all these different things, working on conditioning and these type of things could potentially give us a much better look at the Los Angeles Lakers as we currently have this team constructed. But we do need to make some improvements, and I do think that Austin Reaves is a great trade piece to try to ensure that you can get those things in place. I do feel like it's a difficult task with what the Lakers have on their books, trying to assure that they have all the pieces in place to cover up all the holes that they have. And so that's why it becomes a situation where you're going to have a give and take type of dynamic in place, trying to improve this roster for the time being. Which is why I've posed the question if the Lakers are really in a position to take on the risk that comes with what it is that we're putting together. If we can't build enough to make it enough, are we not signing our guys up to be scrutinized for not winning? Are we not signing ourselves up to be another Brooklyn Nets, Phoenix Suns type thing? I'm inclined to believe that we may be. And so that is why I'm of the mindset that we need to be pretty damn careful about how we negotiate with all of these players that we got to negotiate with this upcoming season. And holding on to anything that may not be cost effective could potentially keep us from being able to build a champion. So that's why I'm like, yo, man, I believe there are a million different ways to build a champion. I really do. And I believe there are a million different young players that are coming into this league that you're going to love to have tomorrow and love to pay a lot of money to tomorrow. Now, whether or not someone wants to take the risk of playing the draft in order to acquire those players when you have an opportunity like the Lakers have to sign already made players, it's something that I don't know that a lot of people would be comfortable with. When you're taking a huge risk thinking that the draft is going to save you. But just the same, you understand that the draft is where the stars are coming through one way or another. They're going to land on one of the teams. And there are going to be some guys who think they have a great piece and that piece ain't going to develop into nothing. It's just the nature of the business. So I think I feel comfortable playing the draft if I'm most teams. But I don't think most teams have an opportunity at Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves at a discount. So that's why it becomes a little bit of a tricky assessment for me. I definitely want to re-sign Luka Doncic. But I also need Luka Doncic to invest in himself, to take care of himself, be healthy, take care of his body, bless his conditioning with the right habits so that he can continue to see himself get in better shape going forward rather than aging quickly like a lot of guys. It's going to be incumbent upon him to make the sacrifices for his team and for himself to be his best. And if he's not looking to do that, then he really is a bad investment for a basketball team. Just like Dallas is assessing he was when they traded him here. So I don't want us to take on the risk without the reward. I understand how talented of a player he is, but I also understand that it's going to be incumbent upon him to get himself together. And the jury's still out on whether or not he's going to be willing to. And that leaves me nervous based on what we have going on. And so while I appreciate that we're going to re-sign him, and I think I'm going to be happy to have him here, I would say that risk is just as scary to me as playing the draft is for a lot of people, if I'm being honest with you. Just as scary. So, Luka's young enough to where it makes sense either way. He's talented enough to where it makes sense to a lot of people either way. But I need to know that talent is going to be on the floor, and I need to know that talent is going to play for a length of time. Not retiring early is extremely important to what it is that we're assessing when considering his age. And we're looking at him saying he's just turned 26. But if he's only going to play till he's 30 because of this, then is he really 26 or is he 33? And that's how we have to look at it. I think that's how Dallas is looking at it. I never was fully against Dallas feeling uncomfortable with the situation. I just didn't agree with how they went about it or the trade return that they ultimately received. I didn't think that made any sense. But the risk was there. The fear was warranted. And it's like I said, it's up to Luka to make it make sense to everybody, man. And so I heard that he went back to Slovenia. I hope that doesn't mean he's sitting down drinking beers now, because he needs to really get it. He needs to get it. And if he doesn't get it, then us taking the risk is a mistake. It's franchise. Us not trading him while he's worth so much at this age for a return that is reasonable and worthy could potentially end up being a mistake. And so that's why I say to you guys, I want to believe in Luka. There's no way to know if this is going to be him really going back home to get in shape. There's a lot of people who are going to be mad at the fact that Laker fans have this concern. But if I had a bunch of assets that were valuable, I wouldn't have as much of a concern. But given the fact that I got the stuff that I have and the lack of picks that I do, I have to be cautious about everything that is on my books, being of cost value, being capable of championship glory, or else I'm setting my Laker brand up for a whole lot of failure and a whole lot of scrutiny and a whole lot of headaches. And that's what the Lakers have to understand. You have such high standards. Your fan base has such high demands. So you really do have to be able to build a champion. Luka's legacy is going to have such high demands. He's already been to a finals in Dallas. So you really do have to be able to build a champion. And if you don't have enough to build a champion, then you're setting yourself up for a whole lot of headaches, man. And that's what this franchise is going to have to be honest with themselves about. We can have ambition, but do we really have enough to build? You can have the willingness, but do you have enough to build? Or are you going to be asking a guy who's already expected to be out of shape to carry you, which is not to the betterment of his body at all? And you're setting yourself up. So that's what I would challenge Jeanie Buss and Rob Pelinka to really consider. Be certain you're not setting yourself up. Because we've seen a lot of teams set themselves up over the last couple of years, and we see them having to undo it as if there was no signs that this was coming. The risk is always there. That's what I want people to understand. For those who are afraid to build through the draft, for those who are afraid of building through Luka, the risk is always in place. But how much can you absorb that risk is always what you're responsible for assessing. You know, what's your threshold for risk? And are you assessing self properly? Are you moving off of emotion or ego? These are things that really, really determine whether or not you're capable of building something that can really do it. And so that's why I encourage Jeanie Buss to really consider what I'm saying here. And, you know, just understand the risk that you're taking. And be prepared for all outcomes. Give yourself plan B's and C's and D's for all outcomes. And don't fall into mistakes. You know what I mean? Don't just stumble into mistakes because you want to take the 10% chance, 10% risk of things going right. It just is, you know, measuring your risk is really what this is all about for this franchise. And so LeBron's having a knee injury. We didn't talk about that at all. I just, to be honest with you, didn't know how relevant it is because it is the off season. Obviously, there's a piece to understand that even if you did carry forward throughout the playoffs, if you would have won Game 5, you still would have been without LeBron James for like 3 weeks. You were going to get knocked off anyway. So there's some peace to be had with that. There's some peace to be had with understanding Austin Reeves had a toe injury. And so even if he was able to play through it, you were probably still going to struggle as he went forward without that thing resting. You were going to get knocked off anyway. So there's some peace to be had knowing about these knee injuries and foot injuries. You know, our team was banged up. Why were he banged up, though? Why? Because we played all season long without a bench. So we were asking these people to do too much. So let's not sign up for that again. It's essentially what this all is about. Let's not sign up for any more of that. Let's have plenty enough of a bench that we can trust to give guys opportunities to rest. If they need to come back from injury, they have enough time to do so. Not being asked to do too much too soon. Not being asked to step outside of themselves, play so much harder than maybe their bodies would be capable of just so we can be successful. These are the things that we have to be responsible for as an organization. Rob Pelinka's going to have to Make sure that each and every player on this roster is accounted for, playable. That's a mistake we made last year, bringing on pieces that we couldn't play purposefully for politic reasons. You saw how it went. You went out in the first round, man. I think Bronny James is going to be a player that's going to be able to play a little bit more next season. He should be ready to step into a more consistent big team role, although we think he's going to spend some time in the G League next year. Not nearly as much. He'll probably still play in garbage time, but you'll be willing to use him a little more next year than we did last year. So I don't think he's going to be as much of a roster nuisance as he was as a rookie. I don't believe so. But we got to make sure the rest of the stuff on the roster is not a roster nuisance. You need to make sure you don't have players on your team for the wrong reasons or for unnecessary contractual obligations and stuff like that. We don't need to be wasting any more roster spots. We did that for Bron the first year. They got us kicked out in the first round. Basically, that's what it trickled down to. And we need to understand that. No more Alex Lynn's, no more Markieff Morris's, no more Shake Milton's. We don't need no more roster spots on people that coach does not want to play. So the communication between coach and front office is super essential this season, this offseason, because we need to know what he's willing to use, not what we think he's going to use. We've seen too many teams do that. Well, he's going to use this guy in theory. No, we need to know he really believes that this person is going to be a part of his roster. Otherwise, if he's just sitting there as dead weight, that roster spot needs to be utilized more responsibly for this franchise. So that's what I want to say, man. Get the dead weight off your team. No more, Maxi Clay, but none of that. I don't want to see none of that stuff. Get all of these expiring contracts off of our roster, all of them. I really think that's essential to us building something proper this season. We have got to not have any more Gabe Vincents, no more guys running around doing nothing. If you don't believe if you think going forward, Dalton Connect's defense is so poor that you can't utilize his offensive strengths, move him. Move him. Move him while he still has value. Don't let him dwindle on our roster any longer. I love the kid. I personally think he's going to be a fantastic scorer. I think anybody that doubts him is a damn fool. And I think anybody that can't use him is oblivious to his offensive talent, or incapable of doing the simple job of masking his defensive deficiencies, which we need to do a much better job of as a franchise. But if we can't use him, regardless of what my opinion is, we need to move him. I don't want no dead weight on my roster next year, man. This LeBron James thing probably got about 1 year left, maybe 2 if we're lucky. We need to either make sure that we can build something championship worthy around him, or we need to move him for the pieces necessary to help us ourselves. It's no more crapping around with LeBron's timeline, in my opinion. I think we're acting up when it comes to LeBron, taking advantage of the fact that he can put booties in seats, and not taking advantage of the fact that he can really help us win if he has the right pieces around him. We are wasting his final years, and I resent it a little bit. I'm not a huge Bron only guy, but just for the sake of somebody who's done as much as he has in this league, he should not have any more of his career wasted in a situation with dead weight on the roster. Even if it's his fault that his son's here and we one of those spots, I don't care, man. I really don't care at this point. Either he's winning or we're wasting time. And most importantly, assets, because he's valuable, but losing value by the second as he gets older and older. So if we ain't going to trade him, everybody's afraid to trade him, everybody politically refuses to trade him, cool. Make sure that he doesn't have any dead weight around him. That's my request as a Laker fan. No more dead weight, man. So that's pretty much what I got to say. It's not too much to really break it down because free agency is nowhere near beginning. We're still in the playoffs right now. We got a very long off season. Hopefully that means everybody heals from their injuries and gets themselves in shape and develops the right habits if they don't already have them. Luka, you know what I mean? Literally, man, it's grow up time for Luka to Don. I can't stress this enough. It's time to grow up, bro. If you ain't motivated by what just happened, to put the beers down and start eating more salads and jogging more and losing weight, working on your core and all that. If you ain't motivated to get back in your rookie year shape, then you just ain't got it, bro. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't care how many people believe in you. If you don't believe in yourself and you ain't willing to put in the work, then it just ain't there, man. And trust me, this is coming from somebody who had a big problem as a young person motivating himself. And you see where I'm at, not where I should be. If you either have it or you don't, you got to have that self-motivation. You got to put forth that effort that would allow you to be the best person for the job, or you're going to find yourself not being believed in by the same people who believe in you today. You got to put in the work, man. That is your responsibility, to put in the work. PDF 44. I thank you all for watching.